Sort of the story.
This is Max.
That's Janey.
Sorry, when I say this, I was pointing to Max. That's Max.
Let's start this from the top.
Who's not me?
I'm Max.
Hi, that's Max.
And that's Janey.
And we are Max and Janey. Hello, welcome. This is a podcast where we tell each other stories.
And also you're here.
Oh, welcome.
Hi, we're glad you're here.
Whoa, we didn't think you'd make it this week.
Yeah.
Really, you've been kind of iffy on the Google Evites. You keep putting interested and then unchecking it. We don't know what that means.
The Facebook event, RSVPing is not optional, so we would really appreciate a little bit of consideration while we're planning these.
Guys, when we record these podcasts, we reserve expensive dinners for 30 people. And if you don't show up, then we just have to eat 30 expensive meals, which we'll do. Actually, we'll do that. Anyway.
Yeah. You know what? Don't come.
You know what? You're uninvited.
Uninvited.
Look at this, yeah, let's do it. Max is gonna start a story.
Handbag.
Slam. Anyway, Max, go tell your story.
Okay. So for this week's story, I went back to one of the books that we used in one of the first episodes of our podcast. It's Caterina the Wise and Other Wondrous Sicilian Folk and Fairy Tales by, originally written by Giuseppe Pitre and edited and translated by Jack Zipes, which I'm never not going to have trouble saying.
Is this the one with the basil pot?
Yes, this is the one with the basil pot came from.
I think about the basil pot every day, by the way. I mention it constantly. I think about it constantly. I bring it up on this podcast. That might be one of my favorite stories ever told.
I love that story a lot. But I actually did a little bit more research on Jack Zipes, Professor Jack Zipes, because I found out that this is actually, he did the translation not from Italian, which you would think, coming from stories from Sicily, but it's actually translated from German. The stories were originally written down by Giuseppe Pitre while he was traveling around as a traveling doctor around Italy and Germany in that area.
That's a perfect way to collect folktales.
Yeah, and then he published them all in German. And this edition came out around the same time as the Grimm brothers were working. So it was 19th century. And Jack Zipes is a professor of German language and comparative literature, as well as a bunch of other stuff. And so he actually did this translation for Giuseppe Pitre had a massive collection of stories that just haven't really been translated because they didn't have the same amount of sort of cultural push behind them to be translated. So a lot of them aren't translated, and he translated these ones, and these are some of the best ones from the collection.
So they were all written in German originally. Mm-hmm. That's wild. Okay.
Yeah. Jack Zipes also, again, as I was looking into him to be like, why is this book about Sicilian folktales in German? I looked at some of Jack Zipes' other books, which I'll just go through my book cart right now. But he specializes in, according to his professor bio, specializes in German Jewish culture, feminism and fairy tales, radical revolutionary and socialist fairy tales, and works in translation from German.
That's a hot list.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that every episode proves that Janey's too horny to be able to tell stories, but that's a hot list.
He has, so there's Don't Bet on the Prince, contemporary feminist fairy tales in North America and Great Britain, I believe. Victorian fairy tales, The Revolt of the Fairies and Elves.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. The Castle of Truth and Other Revolutionary Tales, which is part of a collection called Oddly Modern Fairy Tales, as well as, in that collection, not written by him, is Workers' Tales, Socialist Fairy Tales, Fables, and Allegories from Great Britain. And also in that collection, Fairy Tales for the Disillusioned, Enchanted Stories from the French Decadent Tradition by Gretchen Schultz. So, yeah, just fascinating. He writes a lot of books on, the theory of fairy tales and how fairy tales affect culture and everything like that. Yeah, he's precious.
I just looked up a picture of him to see if he's hot, and he's a very sweet-looking man. I love him. I want to talk to him for hours and hours.
Yeah, he seems awesome.
Yeah.
He has been a professor at the University of Minnesota for a very, very long time. And he's great. He also did a translation of the works of the Brothers Grimm, again from German.
Yeah.
Which is a very well-respected translation and everything like that. So, yeah, very cool. I really it's weird that I, of all people, didn't know that there were socialist fairy tales. Like, I know that
it opens up a whole new avenue for you.
Yeah,
specifically for you.
me, specifically. Like, I get, like, the moral of the story is, like, pro-socialism. I assume they're not about, like, actual, like, socialists necessarily. But for me, as a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America, very exciting to find out that there's a book for me. Personally.
It's really nice to feel represented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone
love
deserves
it.
representation.
So anyways, Jack Zipes, new big fan. And this particular story was collected by Giuseppe Vincenzo Murata in Serta in Italy. So,
if you are a listener and you yourself are Sicilian and German, send us a picture of your face. What do you look like? That's for me.
It's a weird ass.
You can email us at sortofastory@gmail.com.
I'm sorry. So what happened, I think, is that you just conjured up a picture of a very hot German Sicilian folklorist.
I did.
And you want to find them.
And then I looked at Jack Zipes and I realized I want Jack Zipes to be my father. So, like, if you are German and Sicilian, I want to know what you look like.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in socialist folklore, just, like, hit me up. What do you look like?
Yeah.
What's going on? Also, Jack Zipes,
what you got going on?
Jack Zipes, what a cool guy.
Yeah, absolute delight.
Adding to our list of people that I'm going to put in on huge pedestals, including Dr. Chenga Zalka.
Yeah.
We found out she's a doctor, she's cool, she's my age, maybe we're best friends. I have to contact her first.
She's, Hungary's first international storyteller.
God, she's so cool.
Love her so much. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, our story begins in Palermo, Italy.
Sure.
Once upon a time, there was a Fig and Raisin Fool. The story is called The Fig and Raisin Fool, just so you know.
Fig and Raisin?
Mm-hmm. Fig and Raisin Fool. That's how the story starts.
Okay.
There's a fool.
Okay.
And he loves figs.
Okay.
He loves raisins. 2 things you gotta know about him. And then the third thing is that he's a fool.
Wait. So, just, you can be whatever kind of fool that you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could be like the lemon juice and chips fool?
Yeah, he's subclassed as a fig. Fig and raisin fool.
Right.
So that's some things that we know about him right off the bat.
Sure.
Just so that we're going into this eyes wide open. So, the Fig and Raisin Fool. The Fig and Raisin Fool always was, like, looking for figs and raisins. Okay, so I'm gonna just get this out of the way right here. This is a story about a cereal mascot.
Oh, get ready for me to tell you the tale of Toucan Sam.
I swear to God, it's like someone picked up, like, the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird and put it in a fairy tale. Anyways, so...
Alright.
He's always like, where are my figs and raisins at? And everyone's like...
And all these kids show up and they're like, silly bird!
Figs and raisins are for kids?
And there's the one kid in the back like, ew, raisins?
Don't you have any chocolate chips? Yeah. So, the Fig and Raisin Fool, one day all of his friends are like, hey, you want to go gather some wood in the forest with us? And he's like, will there be figs and raisins there? And this is not me riffing, this is an actual part of the story.
Why would there be raisins in the forest?
I don't think you have, like, a grape tree.
Yeah, there would be grapes then.
And then they fall off, right? And it's really hot.
Raisins.
It's really hot, and they bake in the sun.
This
it's
guy's
actually
a fool.
That's actually where Sunmaid gets their raisins. It's from just wandering through the woods until they find raisins.
Ew! Grape droppings.
Thank you for that. And they're like, probably not. And he's like, well, then I'm not going. And they're like, look, come help us with the wood and we'll get you figs and raisins.
They're like, we're willing to
always
pay
with
you.
the figs and raisins with you
We're
guys.
willing to pay you per hour. And he's like, not interested. Like, money for your rent.
Only if you pay me in those sweet, sweet raisins. And so they're like, we'll get you figs and raisins. And he's like, cool, I'm in. So they all go into the forest and they start gathering up wood. And this fool gathers up too much wood.
He got overexcited.
Yeah, he gathers up a ton of wood. And all of his friends are like, that's too much wood, buddy. Have you done this before? You're an idiot. Like, everyone knows how to gather wood except for you, and you suck. This is one of my social anxiety dreams come to life, by the way, where everyone's like, you're picking up sticks wrong, and you suck.
It's like, you just leave it in a pile for later then. Like, they don't need to, like, Be mean to him.
I know.
Just leave it in a big old wood pile, and then you could just have more wood when you go back.
I mean, you gotta wonder what kind of person is friends with a cereal mascot, though. I feel like they're already either sick of his shit or he's like their token cereal mascot
I'm
friend.
imagining a bunch of cereal mascots. Like, Count Chocula is there like, what's the matter with you? Don't you have any chocolate chips?
Tony the Tiger is there and he's like a little sweaty.
The Boo Berry ghost.
Anyways.
I'm thinking of all the Halloween mascots.
So they're like, hey, you idiot, you don't even know how to pick up wood right. And they say, why don't you go and gather even more to pile on? You fucking idiot. Just make it even harder and worse for yourself. And he's like, okay. And so they all are like, and then they all leave. And he goes and like looks for more wood. Because he's stupid.
Okay.
And as he's looking for more wood, he comes across this beautiful fountain in the middle of the woods. And in the fountain are 3 beautiful nymphs. And they're all asleep. They all are sitting underneath of a tree, and they're all curled up in the shade taking a nap together.
Aww.
But, horror of horrors, the sun has moved in the sky. So now the shadow from the tree has exposed their faces to the sun. Okay. And he's like, oh my god, they're gonna be so mad when they get up and they have a tan line on their face. And he's right. So he goes and finds 3 big leaves and puts them on their faces.
That's nice.
Kind of.
Fig and leaf fool is a fig and raisin fool, fig and leaf for our cats.
So he puts these leaves on these women's faces and he's like, job well done, Fig and Raisin Fool. And then he goes off to keep looking for sticks. Yeah. So a short while later, the nymphs wake up and they're like, ah!
Poison ivy! Who did this?
And they are like, oh, someone put these leaves on our faces. And then they look up and like the sun is directly in their eyes and they're like, oh my god, we would have gotten such bad tan lines on our faces. Whoever came through and just like didn't wake us up and like gave us these nice leaves is the best. And all the nymphs are like, yeah, they're the best. We love them. They're like, we should give him a present. And so they all get together and they bless him to have whatever he wants for the rest of his life. Oh, no. Which seems like a disproportionate reward.
Tan lines go away, ladies.
Not true. I worked at a garden center for a couple of months last year, and on my first day, I forgot to wear sunscreen, and I was out for one day. I got the worst farmer's tan on the back of my arms, and I still have a tan line.
Max legitimately looked crazy. Like, it was a very bad
awful.
Sunburn.
Yeah, I had like a unisex short sleeve shirt on, so it's like halfway up my upper arm, and it's like still there.
The neck was a big
god.
Because Max has short hair. Yeah, it was rough.
It was really bad.
Those go away after a few years.
A few years, though. I'm just saying it is a big deal. But they do seem like they're way too grateful about this. So they're like, this guy should get whatever he wants for the rest of his life, forever. And what?
Sorry, I'm just remembering the Daughter of the Sun story where she showed her face out of a window one time and the sun impregnated her. So, like, I would also be really grateful that he hid my face from the sun.
That's fair.
Yeah, maybe they were all like, thank God we weren't ready to be moms of the sun's baby.
Put a pin in that.
Ooh. Ooh. Sexy.
So, at this time, they're like, this guy's blessed now. He gets whatever he wants forever. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, he has gathered up like twice as many sticks as before, and he's bundling them all up. He ties them all together, and he looks at this massive pile of sticks that he has, and he's like, this pile of sticks is too big. And he's like, this pile of sticks is bigger than me. The pile of sticks should be carrying me instead of the other way around.
Oh, no.
And then the pile of sticks sprouts legs. And it, like, scoops him up like a horse so that he's riding on the sticks, and it runs him into town.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, he gets whatever he wants forever.
This is a horror show.
And then the pin that we dropped just a second ago, just a content warning for issues of consent and pregnancy. He rides into town, and everyone's like, look at this idiot riding on a magic pile of sticks.
They're not impressed.
What an idiot. And he's riding into town, and he's like, well, sucks to be you guys, because I've got all these sticks, and they're my friend now. And so he rides through town, and he looks up, and he sees the most beautiful woman he's ever seen leaning out of the window. It's the king's daughter, and she's also laughing at him. And
Sure.
he's like, okay, yeah, it is pretty funny. And also, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Gosh, I wish I could have her babies. That's not what he says. What he says is, like, gee, I sure wish I could impregnate her.
Great.
Which is like,
not as charming as I wish I could have her babies.
he's like, God, I want her babies. And in that moment, she's instantly impregnated.
Oh, and she's like, not laughing anymore.
Yeah. So he goes about his life for, I assume, 9 months. Meanwhile, the princess is pregnant, and her dad is like, you idiot. You absolute idiot. You went and had unprotected sex, and now you're pregnant.
No!
And she's like, I didn't, though, is the thing. I swear to God I didn't. And he's like, you teens and your sex and your drugs and your rock and roll. And she's like, no, like, I very much didn't, though.
Oh.
I did not have sex with anyone.
Yeah.
I do not know how I am pregnant. It is completely impossible.
Traumatic.
And the king is like, God damn it, you dumb daughter of mine. Whenever I find out who the father of this child is, I'm going to take him, and I'm going to take you, and I'm going to seal you up in a bronze barrel and put you out to sea.
That's the disproportionate punishment.
Yeah, right?
Everyone needs to go to school.
Yeah, the gravity of this story is really up and down.
We need, like, a system of justice in this town.
Yeah. So she has her baby, she has a son, and the king devises a plan. Also, the son can talk at the time that the king comes up with his plan, so maybe it's been years. Okay. I'm not entirely clear on whether this is like a magic,
not on board with this little princeling. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether it's like carried a baby for 9 months, had a baby, the baby is 4 now, and now he's trying to figure out who the dad is. Or if it's like, instantly impregnated, instantly had a baby, the baby was immediately 4.
Like the opening of Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet that's what it was. Fairy tale wise, but then again, why wouldn't the father be like, oh yeah, this is clearly a magical pregnancy?
Yeah.
Unless he never sees his kid. Ugh, fatherless.
Yeah, bad dads.
Bad dads.
So the king hatches a plan, and he decides that to celebrate this son that his princess has just had, quote unquote, celebrate, actually trick and murder, he throws a 3-day banquet. And on the first day, he invites all the nobles. And on the second day, he invites all the merchants. And on the third day, he invites all the commoners. Specifically and exclusively the men of all of these classes.
Okay.
So the first ball happens, and the king tells this little kid, he's like, hey, go find your dad. And the kid, like, runs around and, like, knocks a bunch of stuff over because it's a Guinness. And then comes back and he's like, I don't know. The king is like, damn it.
Why would he think this kid would know?
I don't know. And then the second day, all the merchants come in, and the king is like, hey kid, go find your dad. And the kid runs around and, like, tries to drink someone's wine. And they're like, no, and they slap it out of his hand. And he's like, I don't know, he's not here. And the king is like, okay, well, that's not great, because we're working our way down in society.
I love the image of a little kid just running around causing absolute
Are you my dad?
Daddy!
And then on the third day, there have been these two banquets, right? And the fool's friends come to him again, and they're like, did you hear? We're invited, because we're peasants.
Ooh.
We're invited to this ball at the palace.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great. And the Fig and Raisin Fool, true to his name, is like, will there be figs and raisins there? And his friends are like, probably? I don't know if they're going to have trail mix at the banquet, but maybe. And he's like, how sure are we, like, percentage-wise? And his friends are like,
God, what's he got? What better things does he have to do to hang out with his, like, weird stick friend?
I guess. And he's like, well, if there's a possibility, then I guess I can take a chance and go and see if there are figs and raisins at this banquet. Sure. And so the Fig and Raisin Fool and all of his friends go to this banquet the third day with all the rest of the commoners. And the king, meanwhile, goes down to the little princeling and whispers in his ear, and he's like, go find your dad. And the kid's like, where? And he's like, here. I don't know. Look around. And the kid runs around for a little bit and then sees the Fig and Raisin Fool and comes and stands straight up right in front of him, and he's like, that's my dad! Which I like to imagine is because this kid is just eating handfuls of figs and raisins, and he bumps into the Fig and Raisin Fool, who's also just eating handfuls of figs and raisins, and they both look and they're like, huh, Oh, God.
There's like a trail of Fig and Raisin going in opposite directions, like after both of
Yeah.
them.
They like bump their handfuls of figs and raisins together on accident and they get like mixed up, but it's fine because they're both figs and raisins.
Yeah, classic.
So the king is like...
Also because they're both toucans. So it's like really easy to tell which one is his dad. They're both giant cartoon toucans. So the king turns to his daughter and he starts yelling at her. And he's like, "Oh, you stupid creature." Sorry, this is a quote from the book. "You stupid creature, with your eyes screwed in backwards. Oh, you've managed to fall in love with a total fool." I thought you were going to say, "You managed to fall in love with a toucan." I was positive this is where you were going to reveal that I'd been right.
Oh, what a disaster. But just wait, I have a remedy for this.
Oh no. No, he does not. It's not a remedy. It's a punishment.
True. I was like, oh, he's gonna fix it somehow. He's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna make the fool smart or something like that. Also, he just looked at this guy and was like, that guy's a fucking idiot.
Okay, that guy is a giant bird eating handfuls of figs and raisins.
He doesn't even have hands.
Yeah, it's insane.
So he's like, that guy's a fucking idiot. And he's like, don't worry, I have a remedy. And everyone's like, ooh, what is it? Oh, wise and wonderful king. And he's like, I'm gonna seal him up in a bronze barrel and throw him out to sea. They're like, that's not a remedy. I literally wrote down strange, weird problem-solving choice.
Yeah, he's also a fool.
Yeah. So he takes the princess and the baby and the fool, and he puts them all in this big bronze barrel.
After the baby did what he was told to do,
I know, right? The baby didn't do anything wrong.
The baby literally just followed instructions and found his dad. If anything, you should be impressed.
Right? That's a magic baby right there.
Yeah. Tell him to go find you some gold.
It's like a little truffle pig.
Baby's a Hufflepuff.
Or the baby only finds dads, and he starts a little baby pea-eyed.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Baby
Detective Fig and Raisin Baby. Oh.
She had legs that went all the way up to her beak. She was also a toucan.
A child in a three-piece suit with a fedora, and this dame comes into his office and he's like, what can I do for you, sweetheart? And she's like, you're gonna want to smoke for this one. So he takes out a little box of sun-made raisins and just shakes it, and a single raisin pops out and he flicks it into his mouth. And he's like, go on, tell me what's wrong.
Okay, so...
Hard-boiled raisin baby detective.
So... Yeah, it's all of that. Except that he's super tall. He's wearing, like, a long trench coat, and when you open the trench coat, he's standing on the shoulders of a little stick monster.
Oh, no!
Who helps him sneak into movie theaters.
Come on in, half baby, half stick monstrosity wearing a coat.
Detective Raisin Baby P.I.
I'm having a really hard time getting through this story. It's too funny.
It's silly.
So, the king seals up these three in a big old bronze barrel and throws them into the ocean. And the fool is like, so, you had my kid, huh? And she's like, yeah, how the fuck did that happen? And he's like, I have no idea. I've only seen you once before in my life. You were leaning out of a window and laughing at me, and I thought, gee, I wish I could impregnate her. And she was like, oh, you made a wish? And he's like, yeah, I guess I have been making a lot of wishes that weirdly come true lately.
Oh my god.
And she's like, okay.
You ruined my life.
Well, then can you wish that we were not in the middle of the ocean? And he's like, I mean, yeah. And then they're instantly on shore. And she's like, cool. Can you wish that we weren't stuck in a barrel? And he's like, oh, yeah, this is really cramped. And then he's like, gosh, sure wish I could not be in this barrel anymore. And also my baby and my baby mama not in this barrel anymore. And they're out of the barrel immediately.
Nice. That's very useful.
Yeah. So then... This reminded me of when I was a little kid. My grandfather was an English teacher.
Put you in a barrel.
Yes.
And pushed you out to sea.
Yeah, my grandfather traded me for a fistful of raisins and figs. My grandfather, he was an English teacher and an amazing storyteller, and he loved kids, and he was just the sweetest person in the universe.
Yeah.
And he had this big green, like, corduroy reclining chair that he would sit in, and I would, like, sit on the arm of the chair, and he would tell me stories. But also he was an old man.
Yeah.
And so he would tell me one story and I would be like, another. And he'd be like, okay. And then he would tell me another story. I'd be like, another. Be like, I'm tired. I'm like, no, tell me another. And he would tell me another and he would start falling asleep partway through telling the story. And so I would have to like push him to be like, hey, and then what?
So little story tyrant.
Yeah. And so he would be in the middle of a story. He would be like, and then the little cricket man decided to do a jewel heist. And then his friend came on through the forest. I'd be like, Grandpa! And he would be like, and then the police were like, well, you're not going to jail because you're the mayor. Just like completely have fallen asleep and pick up at a different part in the story that didn't make sense with the rest of the story. And that's what this feels like. Where they get out of the barrel, they're on the beach.
Yeah.
And then they go buy a castle.
Oh.
And they build a garden around the castle.
Okay.
Full of all the most delicious...
Why didn't he just wish for a castle? They had to go and actually do real estate?
I guess. And then they plant this massive garden all around the castle that's full of all of these like fruit trees, all the most delectable plants in the world. And they wall it off and they hire a bunch of guards. So there are a couple of doors into the garden and each door has a guard and it has a plaque that says... you may look, but you must not touch. Take a pear or a bunch of grapes, and you will lose your life. So don't steal any of our fruits. You can look, but you can't
any of our figs and future raisins.
They don't even mention figs and raisins in the garden. Neither of those is mentioned. So they're living there, and then the king comes to visit. The king that put them in the barrel.
Yeah, why is he invited?
I guess he doesn't know it's them.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Not clear. And the fool goes to his guard and is like, hey, put grapes in the king's pocket. And the guard is like, okay. And then he does. And then the fool is like, stop! Thief! And he's like, check his pockets. And the king is like, what do you mean? And he like turns out his pockets and there's a bunch of grapes in there. He's like, oh shit, where are I all these grapes
from? These aren't mine, man.
I'm just holding them for a friend. And the fool is like, put him to death, which it doesn't seem like he should have the authority to do that.
Crime and punishment in this society is wild.
Also, who the fuck is he? He's the princess's illegitimate baby daddy. Who isn't supposed to be alive. And so the king is like, please don't put me to death. And the fool takes pity on him and reveals his identity. Which is... just as the fool, he's like, hey, I'm that idiot you put in a box.
He was wearing a burlap sack.
And a little mustache.
And then he just removes the burlap sack.
Yeah, and he was like reluctantly eating like one of the little Clementine cuties. And he's like, it'll throw him off. Because that's not what I like. And yeah, and that's the end of the story. Kind of falls apart towards the end.
That is such a silly story.
And also, all of these stories in this collection, rather than saying, and they all lived happily ever after, they each have this little couplet, which is common in, like, Italian folk stories. Yeah. And this one really got me, personally. Okay. And so they all lived on, happy and content, while we cannot even pay our rent. It's like, anyways, rich people problems, am I right?
That's, honestly, so... This is going to be a few weeks out, and I apologize, but with the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars and everybody being like, oh my god, the whole time I'm like, these guys are so rich. Why do we care if they're slapping each other? Like, why does anybody have an opinion? Like, all this week I've been thinking, like, I can barely make rent. Like, I don't care if Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah.
I also just I don't care.
Yeah.
It's done.
I just don't, about just most things. I'm oversaturated with knowing things. I don't care. I just don't care. I just don't care.
I really like that couplet a lot. That's very topical.
Yeah, there are a bunch of real bangers in here. Let me see if I can find another one real quick. They lived happy and in peace while we sit here picking our teeth. Because they would be told over dinner and be like, oh, and now we're out of food, so there's no more. Clean your teeth.
Clean your teeth.
Wait.
This is very fun.
They were happy and content, but we still can't pay the rent. A lot of these are about...
class issues.
Yep. Most of them are about not being able to pay your rent. Or picking your teeth. a lot about rent. Oh, they all remind happy and at ease while we sit here grinding our teeth.
Yeah, that's me.
Just actively being a hater.
That's me. I'm a hater. I love this story about cereal mascots.
Oh my god. And him being this Fig and Raisin Fool didn't even come up.
Not even a little bit.
It wasn't plot relevant whatsoever. He was just some fucking guy who likes...
Except for the fact that at the end, he was living his dream life of growing grapes in order to make into raisins. And then that's how he, like, almost executed the king.
But, like, why all the rest of the fruit? Why not just figs and raisins?
Well,
that's all he ever wanted.
Well, maybe she was like, hey, I don't like figs or raisins.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? This is a platonic relationship.
She's like, look, I think I'm getting a little bit too, like, regular in my digestion. He must have insides that are...
You thinking of prunes?
Yeah.
Prunes are plums, dried plums.
But raisins, too, and figs. They're both...
Really?
Yeah, they're both good for digestion. So he's got a digestive system like a luge track.
Well, you're assuming... Sorry, that's what would happen if he was human, but he is in fact a cartoon toucan. So... this is normal for him.
Yeah, that's true.
That was fantastic. That was very fun.
I can't, it's not addressed the fact that this is clearly, I know that this was written in the 1800s, but I feel like we need to address the fact that this is clearly a cereal mascot.
Yes.
Also, sorry, this is actually bringing it back to serious, not actually serious, but very silly. As I was reading this, I was like, virgin birth.
Yeah.
Forbidden fruit. And stuff. I was like, this kind of feels like this might be...
A little bit biblical.
Maybe a Christian allegory of some kind?
This is a Christ allegory. Detective Raisin Baby P.I. is a Christ allegory.
Oh my god. Sorry. I have a new name for the mascot for figs and raisins.
Okay.
And it's the Christian alligator. Christian alligator, fig and raisin fool. Yeah, it's just, there's like some...
Christians, you can use that, okay? You don't even have to pay us if you want a new mascot.
I really like the idea of, like, one of the, like, saint, like, stained glass murals of just an alligator.
In a robe.
With a little halo. And he's just holding up his paw.
He's looking up with a big grin.
Yeah, he has a Pope hat on, but it's hard to tell what it is because he has to turn sideways so that his whole head will fit inside of the
and he has
window pane.
He has both of his arms up, and falling from his palms are just a bunch of raisins.
Which just look like shit. It looks like he's just flinging shit with his little alligator paws.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we have merch now. This is a really good segue into tpublic.com/user/sort of the story if you want
look
some
out
t-shirts.
for hard-boiled
Christian
detective
alligator.
Baby fool and the Christian alligator.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You want to take a break?
Yeah.
Let's go eat some cereal.
Yeah.
Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
Max, okay.
Fig okay.
Oh, Fig is here too. And also, Fig is here. So, this week, I didn't put this together until I was actually preparing the story, but today, March 31st, is National Trans Day of Visibility.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of fun, so shout out to everybody who that applies to. Happy Day of Trans Visibility. I hope you had a good one, because again, this is coming out a couple weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm writing a book. You know this.
I know this.
You guys might not know this if you're not following me on social media, which everything is Janey Illustration. But I tell a lot of Greek mythology stories on my TikTok lives, and I do a lot of art inspired by Greek mythology. And over the past year and a half, I've been just gathering all of these stories. And I decided I wanted to write a book of Greek lovers, retold books of Greek lovers, and specifically combining a bunch of different myths. So every time I retell a story, I really try hard to be like, hey, this is from these multiple sources, meaning they probably aren't fitting the version of the myth that you like best, but that's because I'm retelling them. So there's like a whole thing about different versions of mythology and how to ethically tell mythology or how to ethically rewrite mythology, which I'm a big fan of. So that's the book I'm going to be doing on Greek love stories and Greek tragedies, because all of them are also tragedies usually. And for that, I got a bunch of books for research. So I got Hesiod's Theogony, I shouldn't have gotten these, but I got the Bacchae again. I got a bunch of, like, plays that I really like because I just like it. It's not going in the book. I just spent money on things that I like. I also got the Iliad and Odyssey and, you know, all the classics, but I also got Ovid's Metamorphoses. Ovid is a Roman poet / storyteller. He's such a good writer, and he did such a good job because there's a big difference, I think, with Ovid and a bunch of other, like Hesiod's Theogony is just a basically family tree, you know? Mm-hmm. So you're getting some narratives in there, but you're not getting a whole lot. You're just getting, like, who's attached to who, and then this is kind of like a thesis of, like a brief one-line thing of what happened. Ovid goes into actual stories, which is why we know his versions so much. Like, the reason why his Medusa story outlives the original Greek Medusa story, where she's Gorgon. All this to be said, I got Ovid's Metamorphosis, and I was going through it, and going through some of the stories that I'm going to include in my book, and I would like to tell one of them here. What are you looking at?
I'm looking up, I got a copy of a book called Snakes with Wings and Gold-Digging Ants by Herodotus. Mm-hmm. He's not a good writer.
Yeah, it's upsetting. Because a lot of people also say, like, I really love the stories in the Odyssey, but I can't read the Odyssey, you know? Mm-hmm. So this is the reason why I think retellings and adaptations are so important. There's a lot of people on TikTok specifically who every time I mention anything, they come on to fight, no matter what it is, but especially with Greek mythology, because I'm on the Hellenistic side of TikTok. Mm-hmm. So I get a lot of people who are like, that's not true, and you're fucking stupid, and that's not the myth, and you're uneducated. And I'm like, actually, that is a myth. I don't know if you knew this, but there are hundreds of versions of the myth that you're talking about. So yeah. Which one are you specifically referencing? Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Who wrote yours? Like, just do it. Because I don't think you realize that you're quoting the Orphic hymns, and you're not quoting this whatever, and then I already said I'm quoting Ovid. So, like, it's a very specific thing. But nobody can actually read them. Even the people who are fighting haven't actually read the source material, because a lot of them are hard to read, mm-hmm. you know? So, I'm a big fan of retellings and adaptations.
Yeah.
As long as you're transparent about where you're getting it from. This mm-hmm. is the reason why when I first started going into, like, you know, reintroducing myself into Greek mythology of, like, I'm interested in this story, like Medusa. I want to learn more. I went onto the History Channel, which is a very fun thing. You can look up the Medusa story, and it's great. They do a great narrative arc of Medusa's story. But they don't tell you that all their experts they're talking to are experts in different, different areas of Greek mythology. And so they're acting like it's all from one source. And I don't think that's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also a lot of times when people talk about, like, oh, that's not the myth, especially in terms of Greek mythology and stuff like that, it's easy to forget that what we have as far as Greek mythology, sometimes, like in the rare case of, like, Ovid and stuff like that, we have an actual written down account, which might be in Latin or Greek mm-hmm. or any number of languages, usually as a work in translation. None of them were written in English first.
Yeah, and translators are hugely important for getting across a very specific message.
Yeah,
and for example, Sappho. I've been reading a lot of Sappho lately, and there's a huge difference between male and female translators of Sappho.
Yeah, exactly. And also, those myths are one person at one time. That was what they heard. Mm-hmm. But also, when we talk about Greek mythology, we're talking about a mythology that spans thousands of years. So at different periods in time, there were different understandings of the gods, of their stories, of their relationships. And there's politics as well. I mean, like, the city of Athens and its connection to Athena is very political, and so they have stories that are specifically politically saying, like, oh, Athena is great and everything like that.
Yeah, and
so
if
you can't say that this is the
Ovid
truth.
Coming from outside of Athens as a Roman poet who did not like the gods very much, they all have agendas.
Exactly.
Like any writers, they're going to have an agenda.
So when we talk about like folklore and mythology and everything like that, it's important to remember that, again, we're telling sort of the story, because there's no true 100% accurate story unless you are,
unless you're practicing the religion. Then obviously you're going to have, it's the same thing with Christian mythology, you know, like, we can tell the stories all you want, but if you're practicing the religion, you're going to have a specific agenda as well, you know?
Yeah, you have, what you believe in is not, you know, a universal truth all the time,
Yeah.
and especially speaking in historical terms. So,
But it's the same thing. Like, the only time that you're gonna... With Greek mythology, there's lots of people who still practice these religions, and they're gonna have a very specific bend. But if you're just in it for the story, then listen and enjoy, because I got a good one for you.
Yeah.
With that, Ovid's Metamorphosis is the book, and I'm going to be telling the story of Iphis and Ianthe.
Awesome. And you said who was the translator?
The translator is Charles Martin. I did not look him up. So,
That's fair.
Iphis and Ianthe. So, once upon a time, there was a man named Ligdus. Ligdus was a very poor man. He was undistinguished. What?
Licked his balls.
Licked his nuts. Okay, now that that's out of your system.
I was not going to be able to focus.
No. Just like your neck
Moment
got
one.
shorter and shorter, your shoulders were going up. Like, I can't keep it in.
Whew, all right.
The quote is, Ligdus was unknown and undistinguished, which is...
What an asshole.
We have a shirt up right now that says unblessed and unconfessed, and I like the sequel to that shirt being unknown and undistinguished. Not as cool, kind of depressing. So Ligdus is struggling financially all the time. Stop looking at me like that. And he has a wife named Telethusa, and Telethusa is pregnant. And she's about to come to her due date. And when she starts, like, feeling the pangs of labor, she's like, oh my god, I'm about to, like, give birth. You're gonna be a daddy. Ligdus is like, hey, really quickly. And he, like, takes her by the shoulders and he starts shaking her. And he's like, I'm so happy for you. You're gonna do so good. I hope the labor goes really easy and that you don't feel a lot of pain. Also, please don't have a girl. Please don't have a girl. Look at me in the face, wife. If you can do anything, about this, don't give us a daughter, okay? And then he just starts, like, bawling and shaking her, and she's like, I can't do anything about it.
I don't know why you would think that I
what's
could.
happening? He's like, we don't have money for a dowry, and if I have a daughter, all my life's gonna be spent stressing about the dowry, and, listen, I know this is shitty to say, and, like, I love you so much, and I hope that this is gonna be a good birth, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna be parents. If you have a daughter, we're gonna kill it. Okay, I'm sorry, and that's terrible to say, I know, and she's like,
Jesus
what? And he's like, please, I'm gonna have to kill it. I'm gonna drown it in the river, I'm gonna throw it off a volcano, I'm gonna do something. We can't have a daughter, we can't afford a daughter, so, like, ha, anyway, have fun, and then, like, he pushes her into her, like, labor room, and then he, like, runs away, and she's like, shit.
Oh my god.
My husband is freaking out. And so, like, she is, like, really stressed, and she goes in, she's, like, in labor for, like, you know, a while, and she's just like, oh my god. And so she's thinking, and she's kind of praying, and she's like, I don't know what to do. And then she sees a vision of a couple different gods. Now, this story is set in Crete, but we see an influence of Egyptian gods into the story, which is really fun. And it's also important to know that the Greeks associated their gods with Egyptian gods and vice versa. So, like, when we say certain names, the Greeks think of their gods. Or it's the same thing with Greek and Roman mythology. You know, when we hear, like, Pluto and Jupiter, they have the other gods associated with that. So Telethusa goes into labor, and she sees the goddess Io, who is Isis. They are considered the same goddess. If you don't know, Io was... being pursued by Zeus, we'll say this very nicely, and to hide her from Hera, he turned her into a cow, and Hera knew that Io was this cow, because Zeus was acting really fucking weird about this cow, and Hera's like, obviously that's the girl you're fucking. Hey, can I have that cow? I love that cow. She's so pretty. Like, as a gift from me, your wife, who you love so much and you're very faithful to, can I have that cow? And Zeus is like, oh, there's no way that I can tell her no. He said yes, and then he had to go get the cow back. It was, like, a big deal. So that's Io, right? And she comes, when she appears, she has big, like, bull, like, horns on her head. And the goddess Isis is also depicted as having big horns on her head. So, like, she appears, Io or Isis, I'm gonna call her Isis for the rest of this because it's just easier. The god Anubis, with his dog face, is standing next to her. The goddess Bubastis, or you might know her better as Bastet, the cat goddess, the Greeks associate her with Artemis, which I did not know. So we have Isis, Anubis, Bastet, Apis, Apis. He's a bull. He's a fertility god. The Greeks associate him with Hathor. Mm-hmm. And Harpocrates, who's the god of silence and secrets. And he is described, I've never heard of him because I don't keep secrets, but he is described as showing up just with his finger in front of his lips and like hushing her. And so she's in labor and she has all of these gods and goddesses standing before her bed, a mixture of Greek and Egyptian gods with like animal faces and stuff. And basically they say, hey, you're gonna have a girl. And she's like, fuck, okay. And Isis is like, but you're gonna lie. And you're gonna tell your husband it's a boy. And she's like, okay. And she's like, don't worry. I'm with you all the way. I got you, girl. You are gonna have a daughter. You're gonna raise this daughter as a son. You two are gonna keep the secret from your husband for this, girl's whole life. And good luck. She disappears. And so Telethusa gives birth. The only one that knows she gave birth to a girl is the nurse, and the nurse is sworn to secrecy. And so they present the daughter, and when the husband comes in, though Telethusa says, hey, feed the boy. Like, you make sure that the boy is fed. And so he's like, I have a son. And she's like, you have a son. And he's like, oh my God, thank God. And then he falls down and just cries and weeps on the floor. He's so stressed.
Can I really quickly, I am imagining when they're swearing the nurse to secrecy.
Yeah.
It's just
Harpocrates.
Yeah. Just is like, shh. And then he like draws his finger across his throat like, we're gonna come for you. I'm the god of secrets. I'll fucking kill you.
She's like, oh my God, okay. I would have kept the secret anyway.
He's like, yeah, you would have. And then he throws a smoke bomb and disappears out the door.
But, like, they watch him, like, scurry off. Like,
yeah.
Because he's the god of secrets, but also he's not good at anything else.
No, he's not the god of smoke bombs.
No, not. Which is weird that he had one. So, they name the baby Iphis. The husband, Ligdus, is like, my father's name was Iphis, and I love that name. And Telethusa is stoked because Iphis is a gender-neutral name.
Mm.
And so it can be used for boys or girls, and Telethusa's like, thank God. So we just like gender neutral queen over here. We got this. So she raises Iphis as a boy. Iphis there's no difference, and Telethusa makes sure to be like, never bathe in front of other children, never do this. Like, we are going to like keep the secret. Like, you can't show anybody, but that's what we're gonna do. And so Iphis is raised as a boy. They eventually they're put into classes, and in one of their classes and their studies, and the person they hang out with the most is a beautiful little girl named Ianthe. Now, Iphis is described as being very beautiful, but androgynous, right? So when people see Iphis, up to this point, I am going to call her because that's how they identify her in Ovid. So, because she is still, like, she knows, like, she thinks of herself as a girl, but she's feeling very conflicted about it. So just so you know. So if you're wondering, this is... I've been thinking about the story a lot. I reread it like 3 times, and I was like, okay, we'll call her a girl up until a certain point. So Iphis falls madly in love with Ianthe. They kind of look alike. Everyone's like, these are 2 very pretty kids, but Iphis is pretty androgynous looking, so they're like very pretty boy, like basically. And everybody's like pretty impressed with her all the time. And Ianthe is so infatuated with her. Like, they grew up together. Ianthe's always just staring at her and like just so in love, and Iphis like feels all these like fluttery butterfly feelings all the time about her. And then when they're 13, their fathers are like, hey, by the way, you guys are betrothed. And they're like, oh, sick. Nice. We're gonna get married. And like Ianthe's so excited. She's like, I am gonna be your wife. And Iphis is like, I would love that. Oh, I would love that. And she starts to feel this feeling of dread. And like this thing that would have made her really happy that she was thinking about her whole life is suddenly filling her with so much dread because nobody knows that Ianthe is, like dressing up as a boy, was raised as a boy, but is not. That's what I meant. Yeah, so Iphis is a biological female. Mm-hmm. And so Iphis starts to panic. And so I'm going to read kind of her panic. It makes me really sad. She cannot see this. She says, Iphis, however, loves with hopeless desperation, which increases in strict proportion to its hopelessness, and burns, a maiden for another maid. And scarcely holding back her tears, she cries, Oh, what will be the end reserved for Iphis, gripped by a strange and monstrous passion known to no one else? If the gods had wished to spare me, they should have. If they wanted to destroy me, they should have given me a natural affliction. Cows do not burn for cows, nor mares for mares. The ram will have his sheep, the stag his does, and birds will do the same when they assemble. There are no animals whose female lust for other females. I wish that I were dead.
Oh,
So
no.
I think about this all the time I've been planning my book for a little while, and one of the things is, there's a bunch of LGBTQ stories in Greek mythology. This one's going to go in there. I'm really excited about it. There are no lesbian stories in Greek mythology, and we've had this conversation before, me and you.
Yeah.
But lesbians were not recognized as being even, like, existing at all. Like, they existed, of course. Sappho is proof that they existed. If you needed proof, you don't need proof, but Sappho's proof. Lesbians existed. But they didn't recognize them as being real at all. They definitely didn't talk about it. And so when you had young lesbians in ancient societies, she straight up compares herself to Pasiphae, who had sex with a bull and birthed the Minotaur. She compares herself to Pasiphae and says, like, even that's more natural than what I am. Like, she doesn't have any representation, and she is devastated. Like, she thinks that she's condemning Ianthe to marrying a monster. So, like, yeah, it really upsets me. There's also a quote that, also, I just think this is beautifully written, and beautifully translated. But it says, if every form of ingenuity were gathered here from all around the world, if Daedalus flew back on waxen wings, what could he do? Could all his learned arts transform me from a girl into a boy? Or could you change into a boy, Ianthe? So, at this point, they're really thinking, like, I wish I was a boy. I want to be a boy. Like, why can't I be a boy? Like, nobody can do that for me, but, like, I want to be a boy. And so, like, anyway, Iphis is going through it. Representation matters. So then she starts going in. So I'm going to switch the pronouns now to they. Because I think we're seeing Iphis deal with stuff, and start to, like, recognize things about themselves. So, the wedding day starts getting nearer and nearer, and the Greeks believed that at your wedding, there were some gods present, one of them being Hera, or Juno in Roman mythology, the goddess of marriage, right? So Hera would come and she would bless the marriage. What?
The irony.
I know. Oh, I know. So another god, the god of marriage, is Hymen, who I looked up because Sappho mentions Hymen quite a bit. It is where we get the word Hymen from, but I've never heard of the god Hymen. Basically, this is the tangent with another story within a story, but Hymen was a young boy who was beautiful like a girl, and he fell in love with a girl who was a priestess of Demeter, and he saw her and a bunch of other young priestesses. They were like, we're going to go on a pilgrimage, we're going to sacrifice to Demeter, and so they were like, here we go, and they got in a girl group, and so he dressed up like a girl and then joined their girl group so he could just, like, get in with the girls, like an 80s movie where a boy, like, sneaks into a girl's sleepover. But then they were all captured by pirates, and everybody was killed except for this group of young girls, and Hymen was like, oh no! Like, he's got his veil over his face, like, whoops. It's not good. And so then all these girls are on the ship, and he kind of reveals himself to be a boy, and he's like, hey, girls, real quick, and he takes off the veil, and he's like, so sorry, ladies. And they're like, ah! So he's like, does anybody know how to fight with a sword? Because I'll teach you real quick. And so he gives them, like, a little lesson, and they overthrow the pirates, and he brings them back around, and everybody's really grateful, and then he gets to marry the girl that he loved.
Aw, just like in Chicken Run.
What?
No?
That's... just... Hold on. So, Hymen, later on, like, dies and is brought back to life. It's a big old thing. But basically, like, he becomes the god of marriage. Like, people start to be like, Hymen has to be invited to the wedding. Otherwise, the marriage won't be blessed. And so then he's, like, forced to go to every wedding, which is a nightmare. Like, he's like, really? Another wedding? Wedding season sucks for Hymen. But then he becomes the god, so they all start to, like, pray to him, basically, like, bless this marriage and stuff like that. So Iphis, is praying to Juno and Hymen, but is getting really mad at both of them. Iphis is like, hey, why are you coming to this wedding at all? This wedding is a sham. This isn't gonna work. I'm going to ruin Ianthe's reputation, and I'm probably going to be executed. Like, thanks a lot. Why are you even allowing this wedding to continue? So, like, they're getting really upset and really, like, anxious all the time. And it said, fearing what you sought, Telethusa postponed the marriage day with one concocted pretext after another, a fictive illness or an evil omen. So Telethusa also is like, I'm so sorry. Obviously, we can't let this wedding go on. So Telethusa is trying really hard to, like, postpone it. She's like, hey, Iphis is really sick, or hi, like, we have a family emergency, or like, oh no, like, I saw a bee today and that's bad luck. So
my dog ate the marriage license.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of weird excuses. But they eventually run out of excuses. Like, this marriage is gonna happen. And they're both freaking out. Iphis is devastated, and Telethusa finally is like, the only thing we have left to do is pray. And so she basically tears the bands out of Iphis's hair and lets her hair, like, their hair fall down, whatever, and then makes them get on their knees and is like, we're gonna pray to Isis because Isis came and helped us before, told me what to do. This is our last ditch effort. So they start to pray. And as they're sitting there, they're thinking that nobody's hearing their prayer, right? Like, the wedding is like minutes away. They start to stand up, and Telethusa notices the altar at which they're praying starts to kind of shake a little. And Telethusa's like, I think that's a good sign, right? I don't know. Seems good.
Could be good or bad.
It could be good. I'm going to say good. And so it starts to shake, and then Telethusa, makes Iphis stand up, and she's like, we're going to do this, okay? I'm with you. And they start to walk out. And here's the quote, not yet secure, but nonetheless delighted by this omen of the altar shaking, the mother left with Iphis following. As was her wont, but now with longer strides, darker complexion, and with greater force, a keener countenance, and with her hair shorter than usual and unadorned, and with more vigor than a woman has. So as Iphis started to walk, with every step, their countenance started to change, and by the time they got to the wedding altar, they had been transformed into with male genitalia and into like a full like biological male. So Isis gave Iphis a sex change so that they could get married and feel good in their body and feel like they're not lying to Ianthe anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have a trans love story in mythology, which I didn't realize before, and I am so touched by it. And here's the last. Good. This has a couplet at the end.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it about not being able to pay your rent?
And happily ever after, but I still can't pay my rent. Ovid, why'd you write that?
Ovid, you sold so many books.
This is the couplet at the end of this. They bring the goddess gifts and add to them a votive table with these lines inscribed. Gifts Iphis promised when she was a maid, transformed into a boy he gladly paid.
Aww.
Also, we have the change of pronouns. Like, it's just all so good. And then it ends with the next day's sun revealed the great wide world with Venus, Juno, and Hymen all together, gathered beneath the smoking nuptial torches, and Iphis in possession of Ianthe.
Aww.
And so it ends happily ever after. They get married and they have a beautiful love story.
That's so nice.
Man and woman. I know. So this story in particular, A, is beautiful, but B, a lot of times, because I've been looking up, like, I want a lesbian Greek mythology story to include in my book, right? Because there's a lot of gay stories, there's a lot of just LGBTQ in general, there's a trans love story, and it's beautiful. But when I was like, what about two women? There has to be at least one, right? There aren't. That's just the sad truth. There aren't. If you are an expert and you have definitive proof that there is a lesbian love story, let me know, but there's not. This one, some people do say that this is the only lesbian love story, but it's not. It's a trans love story. Mm-hmm. Ianthe doesn't know that Iphis is a biological woman. Ianthe is in love with a man, and Iphis is a man. And so, like, it's not a lesbian love story, and also erasing the whole trans aspect of it to be like, see, there is a lesbian love story is really damaging.
Yes.
And untrue. So here's somebody pitched this to me on one of my lives. My beautiful moderator, Julia, pitched this, that Demeter and Hecate are lesbian lovers. And it makes a lot of sense. And so I'm holding on to that from now on.
I love it.
Yeah, Demeter and Hecate makes too much sense as being in love. When Demeter was searching for Persephone, Hecate walked the whole world with her, searching for Persephone with her, and like stayed with her the whole time. And when they found out that Persephone was in the underworld and that she would have to be forced to stay there for 6 months at a time, Hecate was like, hey, don't worry, I won't let your daughter be alone. And then moved to the underworld and became Persephone's companion because she loved Demeter.
You know how you just as a little favor for your gal pal, you move to hell.
Yeah. 100%. It makes a lot of sense. It's a lot of little Demeter and Hecate things that I'm like, oh shit.
I love
maybe.
that.
So, yeah, we have to do a lot of speculations because lesbians did not get any sort of representations at all. I would say up until like the 18th century, maybe 19th century. Mm-hmm. And that's just here in the Western world.
Yeah.
Wasn't considered a thing. So, lesbians deserve a lot. They have a lot that should be coming to them soon in reparations as far as visibility goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the story of Iphis and Ianthe.
Beautiful.
Isn't that really fun?
I feel very silly for having a cereal mascot story. You have this beautiful love story.
Okay, well, need I remind you, you also started my story by yelling, lick these nuts.
I'm really sorry we are not on the same page this week.
Yeah, I think I already, I don't know if I mentioned the GoFundMe, but guys, I am trying to fund me writing this book. Just so I can pay my rent and not have to do multiple commissions because I can't do all the research and the illustrating of these books while doing what I'm doing right now, which is constant hustling just to keep myself alive. So if you want to donate to my GoFundMe, I'll put you in for a raffle. That's what I've been doing. If people want to be added to a raffle to win some free prints, I'll include some fun pictures on the Instagram of the gods and goddesses printmaking I do. Because this is so weird, but I do think we have listeners who didn't come from my art page. Mm-hmm. Which is wild. Hi, welcome. Go check out my art. But if you want to, like, help fund this book, maybe, like, throw me $5. I'll put you in for a raffle. Maybe give you some free prints.
Yeah.
How fun. The GoFundMe is just under Janey Illustration. Janey. And we'll try to get this book done.
Yeah.
Lovers.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else to tell them?
No, we have merch. We have an Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all sort of the story, all one word, no punctuation.
Yeah.
And
if you want to email us with stories that you love, if you're like, hey, you guys should look into this story, email us at sortofthestory.com. Or at gmail.com, sorry. If you wear our merch and if you don't have an Instagram and can't tag us, send us your pictures of you and merch. How fun. Also, if you're Sicilian and German, hit me up, sortofthestory@gmail.com. I want to see your face.
Janey is single and ready to mingle.
I just want to, see what you look like. Maybe send a picture of both of your parents so I see, what they look like. No big deal.
Janey's gonna date your dad.
I'm coming for you, Mr. Sicily. Ooh.
Yeah, and also, any stories, any books, or anything like that that you want to share with us?
Just hit us up. Just, chat with us. We love hearing from you guys. All of the comments on Instagram genuinely make us so happy. And rate and review and subscribe. Do all the stuff.
Yeah.
Help us out.
All that stuff. Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Ring. Okay. Guys, bye. Bye. Animal control did a great job. They helped him out. They checked him out. They gave him all his rabies and vaccinations. Rabies vaccinations didn't give him all his rabies. They gave him his rabies shots, all his vaccines, and they neutered him, which he wasn't happy about. I know. But it was cool. And then I got to buy him back for $15. And so now he's our cat. But he keeps falling off stuff because he doesn't know how to cat.
No, he's just a baby.
So if you hear us stumbling at any point, it's probably him. He goes no bones and just falls from high places.
Yeah, he's
pretty good.
Yeah, he hasn't got the controls down quite yet for being a cat.
He'll figure it out. And here he goes on a... Yeah, there he goes. Fell right off.